Hi everyone, my name is Mark Melvin Duban and I'll be talking about the Universal Grammar Theory. Before we jump into our topic, let's first discuss the outline of this presentation. First, Universal Grammar Theory. Second, core idea. Third, background and historical development, followed by evidences for Universal Grammar Theory, the core principles of UG theory, the criticism of Universal Grammar Theory, comparison with other theories, and lastly, the conclusion. As we all know, language is the most powerful tool that the human have. It allows us to communicate and share our ideas, thoughts, and emotions. But how does human language evolve, or how does human learn language? This is why the Universal Grammar Theory was born. Just like the other theories, it also challenges the idea of how does human acquire language, especially the children. Now, what is the Universal Grammar Theory? But before that, what comes to your mind if you hear the word universal? When we say universal, it applies to everyone or everywhere. It is global. It is worldwide. Now, what about grammar? It is the set of rules that help us to construct or write sentences. Now, let's jump into the what is the Universal Grammar Theory means. The Universal Grammar Theory, or UG for short, was proposed by linguistics 𝙐𝙍𝙀𝙍𝙍 in 1950s. This theory suggests that all humans are born with an innate ability to learn language. When we say innate, it is something you are born with. It possesses when the time you are born. It is natural. It shows that all humans are born with the ability to acquire or understand and develop language. This is why the children learn languages quickly and easily. Also, the Universal Grammar Theory suggests that all human beings are born with naturally pre-wired with a basic set of language rules. This means that no matter what a child learns language, whether it is Japanese, English, or Chinese, our brains are born with a set of language rules that are common to all languages. These rules helps children understand how to form sentences and use grammar correctly. All of these ideas are supported the idea of language acquisition device or LAD. Now, what is language acquisition device? It is a special part of the brain that helps humans learn language naturally. This idea of Noam Chomsky suggests that all human brains have this language acquisition device that helps us acquire or understand language naturally. It also explains why babies can learn language quickly. For example, a 2-year-old baby can construct a sentence like I'm hungry when they're starving, even though they are not being taught by someone. Now, let's talk about the background and historical development. Before Chomsky, the most dominant theory way back before is the behaviorist theory by B.F. Skinner. The theory suggests that language is learned through imitation and reinforcement. Now, Chomsky criticized those ideas and argued that behaviorism could not explain children's rapid language learning because children often use sentences that they never heard before. For example, a children can construct a sentence like I want water or I want milk when they're thirsty or hungry. This shows that even though no one taught them to use that language or sentence because it happened naturally. Now, let's jump into the evidences of universal grammar theory. First evidence, children learn language without formal teaching, followed by the WOG test by Jdźwiękowo-Gleason in 1958, followed by the deaf and sign language, a Nicaraguan study First evidence. Children learn language quickly without formal teaching. Babies and toddlers learn languages effortlessly even without being explicitly taught. For example, a 2-year-old can say full sentences like "me want toy" even if no one directly taught them how to put those words together or to use those words correctly. All of this is supported the idea of naturality because it happens natural. The second evidence, the word test. I will show you a video clip of a word experiment by 𝙤𝙬𝙀𝙍𝙍 in 1958. Now let's zoom in.
Hi. I'm going to show you some pictures, okay?
It's called the 𝙂𝙍 test, and Jean still uses the original card she designed half a century ago.
This is a 𝙂𝙍.
They showed that even with nonsense words they've never heard before, children can use grammatical rules that they've somehow absorbed.
What are they? You tell me.
Wag.
Say that louder.
Wags.
Wugs is great.
Very
Very good. Okay.
The word test is a simple experiment created by psychologist 𝙤𝙬𝙀𝙍𝙍 in 1958 to understand how children learn language rules. It uses made-up words to see if children can apply grammar rules to words that they never heard before. On the video, a lady shows a picture of a made-up creature called Wug to a little girl. She immediately said wugs with S because it's plural, which is correct. Now, notice that a little girl has already the knowledge of the language rules. Third evidence, the deaf and sign language, a Nicaraguan study. Before 1970s, deaf children in Nicaragua had no shared language, like no one can understand them. By the way, deaf people, these are the people with disabilities that have a problem of hearing, resulting the speaking problems. In the late 1970s, the Nicaraguan government established a special school for deaf people. And then teachers started or tried to teach deaf people Spanish language through lip reading and writing, but it really doesn't work out. One day, the children gathered around and then out of nowhere, they used their own hand signs to communicate to each other. And then over time, these signs evolved into a structural language, and then it is known as the Nicaraguan Sign Language. Let's now jump into the core principles of universal grammar theory. First, deep structure and surface structure, followed by humans are born with the language ability or innateness, followed by language are built-in options called parameters. Let's now talk about the first core principle, the deep structure and surface structure. When we say deep structure, this refers to the underlying meaning of a sentence. It's like a basic idea or thoughts that you want to express before choosing the specific words. On the other hand, the surface structure, it is the actual sentence as it's spoken or written. In order for you to understand, I will give an example. In deep structure, you can say, Tony Fowler is tossing the ball. In surface structure, it is Tony Fowler is playing a volleyball. Notice that in deep structure, it is the basic idea or thoughts that you want to express, while in surface structure, it is the actual sentence that being said or being written. The next core principle, humans are born with the language ability or innateness. A while ago, I mentioned innate. Innateness and innate are just the same. It is something you are born with. It is you already possess it when the time you are born. It is natural. Chomsky said that babies are born with the ability to learn language. They don't need formal lessons, they just listen and start speaking. This shows that when you ask babies, they will immediately answer your questions without any hesitations. But of course, their answers are tied up to the questions. The next one is the languages have a built-in options or called the parameters. A while ago, Noam Chomsky says or believed that languages are the same with the language rules or grammar rules. In order for you to understand these parameters, I will give you an example. The word order. Example number one, language rule. In English, it follows the rules of SVO or subject, verb, object. The boy ate the cake. The boy, it is the subject. Ate, it is the verb. Cake, it is the object. In Japanese rule, it is SOV. It is subject, object, and verb. It says, Shonen wa keiki o tabeshimashita. Notice that both sentences make sense, but the word order is different. But is to the criticism of the universal grammar theory. First, no physical proof of a language acquisition device. Second, language is learning depends on social interaction. Lastly, some of the language do not follow the universal grammar rule. Number one criticism, no physical proof of a language acquisition device. As we all know, Chomsky said or mentioned that the brain has a special part called the language acquisition device or LAD, which helps people learn language or which helps people acquire language easily and naturally. But scientists have not found the specific area in the brain that works exactly like LAD. It is not proven, it is not found. The second criticism, the language as learning depends on social interaction. Here, some experts believe that language is learned through communication with parents, teachers, and other people. Babies learn better when they interact with others, not just by hearing words. In this criticism, it is more evidence that a baby can acquire or learn language through communication or social interaction with parents, teachers, and other people. Third criticism, some languages do not follow the universal grammar rules. Chomsky said that all languages share basic rules, but some language didn't follow or did not fit into the universal grammar's pattern or universal grammar rule. One of the examples of the language is the Pirana language in Brazil. Now let's discuss the Pirana language. Why does this language challenge the idea of universal grammar rule? Why does this Pirana language did not meet the universal grammar rule? Because Chomsky mentioned earlier that all languages are the same with grammar rules or language rules. But the Pirana language doesn't follow really that rule. First, it has no fixed word order. Sentences can be arranged in different ways. Their sentences are not grammatically correct or grammatically well structured. Number two, it does not use number or past future tense like most languages. They only use few or some for the numbers. Some experts says that this language challenges the universal grammar rule or the idea of universal grammar because it is basically did not follow the common rule of universal grammar, which is at this juncture, we are going to compare the universal grammar theory to the other theory, to the behaviorist theory, and to the cognitive theory. The main idea of the universal grammar theory is that people are born with an built-in ability to acquire or learn language. It is founded by Noam Chomsky, while the behaviorist theory is that the main idea is that language is learned through listening and copying, is that language is learned through imitation and reinforcement. Language is learned through social interaction, and it was founded by B.F. Skinner, while the cognitive theory is that learning language depends on the development. It is founded by Jen Piaget. Conclusions. The universal grammar theory is one of the most important theories in linguistics because it provides a hypothetical framework that suggests the idea of how does human language evolve or how does human acquire language, especially the children. The universal grammar theory suggests that language learning is inborn. It also suggests the idea of our brain are born with a set of language rules that are common to all languages. The universal grammar theory continues influence in linguistics and in the field of education. These are the references. Once again, my name is Mark Malvin Buban, and always remember to spread love and positivity. Thanks for listening. Muchas gracias.